The most surprising and arguably the most life-changing benefit of living in a small dogtrot house is something you cannot capture in a photograph. It is the acoustics. When you compress a kitchen, a living room, a bathroom, and a bedroom into a single 500 square foot box, you're creating an acoustic echo chamber. Every single sound generated in the house is shared by everyone in the house. If one person wakes up early to grind coffee beans, the other person is forced to wake up too. There is zero acoustic escape. The small dogtrot layout eliminates this problem through the sheer physics of a structural void. By splitting your 500 square feet into two completely detached 250 square foot pavilions, separated by a 10-foot open-air breezeway, you create the ultimate sound barrier. Sound waves simply cannot easily travel through an insulated exterior wall, across an outdoor air gap, and through a second insulated exterior wall. This means that one pavilion can be loud, active, and chaotic, while the other pavilion remains a sanctuary of absolute library-like silence. You can have friends over for dinner and drinks in the living pavilion, while a baby sleeps completely undisturbed in the sleeping pavilion. For couples working different shifts or anyone who simply values peace and quiet, this structural separation is nothing short of an architectural miracle. It gives you the acoustic privacy of a massive, sprawling estate, all within an incredibly tiny footprint. We rarely talk about the smell of a home when discussing architecture, but in the realm of small living, odor management is a massive daily struggle. In a standard tiny home, your bed is usually positioned just a few feet away from your stove. When you sear a steak, fry bacon, or chop onions, those aerosolized oils and intense culinary aromas have nowhere to go. They embed themselves into your sofa, your clothing, and your pillows. No matter how powerful your range hood is, a single-room tiny house will always smell like whatever you cooked for dinner. The small dogtrot provides an immediate, surprisingly simple answer to this problem. The concept of the dirty pavilion and the clean pavilion. Historically, the dogtrot was invented specifically for this reason. Pioneers kept a hot, smoky, strong-smelling kitchen in one cabin and their pristine sleeping quarters in the other. In a modern small dogtrot, this historical wisdom is a game changer. Because you must cross the outdoor breezeway to get from the kitchen to the bedroom, there is zero shared indoor air. It is physically impossible for the smell of frying fish to migrate into your bedroom closet. Your sleeping pavilion remains perpetually fresh, smelling only of clean laundry and the natural materials of the room. It allows you to cook aggressively, host dinners, and live fully in your active space, without ever compromising the pristine, pure environment of your private sanctuary. In a small home, this level of environmental control feels like an unimaginable luxury. Let's address the elephant in the room: claustrophobia. Human beings are not meant to live in highly confined spaces for extended periods. When our eyes cannot focus on distant objects, our brains register a state of confinement leading to irritability and stress. This is why people quickly abandon tiny homes. They feel trapped. The small dogtrot answers this dilemma by not adding more indoor square footage, but by mastering the art of visual trickery. In a small dogtrot, the interior rooms might be tiny, perhaps only 12 by 16 feet, but the wall facing the central breezeway is almost always constructed of massive glass doors. When you sit on your sofa inside that tiny room, your eyes do not stop at the wall 3 feet in front of you. Your gaze travels completely through the glass, across the wide, covered outdoor corridor, and out into the landscape beyond. Architects refer to this as borrowed landscape. By visually integrating the outdoor breezeway into the indoor living space, your brain is tricked into believing the house is 3 times larger than its actual heated footprint. You experience the grand, sweeping sightlines of a large luxury home, but you are only paying to heat, cool, and maintain a tiny micro cabin. It completely cures the claustrophobia of small living, providing an expansive, open, breathing environment that traditional tiny homes simply cannot match. When people first hear about the dogtrot layout, they almost always ask the exact same question. Wait, you have to go outside just to get from your bedroom to your kitchen? Isn't that incredibly annoying? This is the biggest misconception about the dogtrot. and the truth will completely surprise you. What seems like a massive inconvenience on paper is, in reality, the single most beloved feature of the home. We live in a society suffering from chronic digital fatigue and nature deficit disorder. We wake up, look at our phones, walk from the bedroom to the kitchen, sit at a laptop, and go to sleep, all without ever feeling the outside air. We exist in a state of continuous climate-controlled numbness. The Small Dogtrot breaks this toxic cycle by introducing the 5-second commute. Because you have to cross the covered outdoor breezeway to get your morning coffee, you are forced, gently and beautifully, to interact with the planet. You feel the sharp crispness of an autumn morning. You hear the rain hitting the metal roof. You notice the shift in the barometric pressure. This brief, mandatory exposure to the elements acts as a daily psychological reset. It wakes you up. It grounds you. It forces a moment of mindfulness into a routine that would otherwise be entirely automatic. Those who live in small dog trots will tell you that crossing the trot isn't a chore. It is a vital, therapeutic ritual that reconnects them to the natural rhythms of the world. Let's talk about the physics of micro-living. Small houses heat up incredibly fast. When you put a stove, a refrigerator, a television, and 2 human bodies inside a 400 square foot highly insulated box, the internal temperature skyrockets. In a traditional tiny home, managing this heat buildup requires constant, aggressive air conditioning, completely negating the eco-friendly, energy-saving goals of small living. The Small Dogtrot provides an ingenious, zero-electricity solution. It is, by its very historical nature, a passive aerodynamic engine. The open central breezeway acts as a wind funnel. Based on the principles of fluid dynamics, when ambient breezes enter the corridor, they compress and accelerate. This creates a high-speed draft right through the center of the home. When your tiny kitchen pavilion begins to overheat from cooking, you simply open the windows facing the breezeway. The accelerated wind passing through the trot creates a low-pressure zone that literally sucks the hot, stagnant air directly out of the cabin. It is a house that breathes for you. In the sweltering heat of summer, the covered breezeway itself remains a deeply shaded, actively cooled sanctuary, often 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the surrounding yard. It provides an incredibly comfortable, energy-free oasis that makes surviving hot summers in a small footprint not just tolerable, but genuinely delightful. The greatest challenge in designing a small house is deciding what to cut. If you only have 500 square feet of enclosed space, you cannot have a home gym, a formal dining room, a woodworking shop, and a spacious living room. You have to sacrifice. But the Dogtrot layout provides a brilliant loophole. It gives you the ultimate multifunctional flex room for absolutely free: the breezeway. Because a breezeway is fully roofed and often features a durable concrete or heavy timber floor, it acts as a massive unconditioned room that adds 0 square footage to your tax assessment or heating bill. For 8 to 10 months out of the year in temperate climates, this void becomes the most utilized room in the house. You don't need to try and cram a dining table for 6 inside your tiny kitchen pavilion. You simply place a beautiful, weather-resistant teak table permanently in the breezeway. You don't need a spare bedroom for messy hobbies. You can paint, sand wood, or repot plants in the breezeway, and simply sweep the mess off the edge of the deck when you are done. It serves as your gym, your lounge, your workshop, and your entertainment hall. By shifting all of these space-heavy activities out into the covered void, the interior pavilions can remain hyper-minimalist, completely uncluttered, and devoted purely to essential comfort. If you have ever tried to work from home in a tiny house with a partner, you know it is a recipe for disaster. The modern era of remote work has fundamentally broken the tiny house dream. If you're on a video conference call at the only table in the house, your partner cannot cook, cannot watch television, and often cannot even move around without stepping into the flame. The spatial friction is immense, and it destroys relationships. Here is where the Small Dogtrot shines brightest. It is the absolute savior of the remote work lifestyle. By dedicating one pavilion as the active living and kitchen zone and the other as the quiet sleeping and working zone, you create an impenetrable boundary between work and life. You can wake up, cross the breezeway to the kitchen, make your breakfast, and then commute back across the breezeway to your desk in the quiet pavilion. While you are locked in a deep focus work session or a critical meeting, your partner has total freedom. They can occupy the kitchen pavilion, play music, cook meals, and live their life completely normally without worrying about disturbing you. When the workday is done, you close the door on the office pavilion, cross the breezeway, and leave your work physically behind. In a world where the lines between home and office are completely blurred, the dog trot reestablishes a desperately needed physical boundary, saving your sanity and your relationships. Let's look at the financial reality of the small dog trot, because the numbers will absolutely surprise you. One of the reasons people choose small living is to escape the crushing burden of a massive 30-year mortgage. But building a complex, highly customized tiny house on wheels can still cost upwards of $100,000 and requires specialized trailers and weight distribution engineering. The dog trot offers a far more traditional, grounded, and financially scalable path to home ownership. It is the king of phased construction. Because the structure consists of two simple, independent boxes under a single roof, you do not have to build the entire house at once. A young couple or a solo builder can easily afford to build phase 1. You pour the foundation for the entire footprint, build the overarching continuous roof, but you only enclose and finish one of the pavilions. You live debt-free in that single, hyper-efficient micro cabin using the massive empty deck under the roof as your outdoor living room. Then, 3 or 5 years down the line, when your income increases or your family begins to grow, you simply frame in the second pavilion on the already existing deck. Because the foundation and the roof are already in place, adding the second living space is incredibly cheap, fast, and does not disrupt your daily life in the first cabin. The house grows organically, entirely at the pace of your own financial reality, keeping you permanently out of crippling debt.